Well, it's Sunday. I don't really care what number the day is. I didn't want to make a video today, so I figured, it's just like AA, where you should when you don't want to. Um, Not a good day. Not a good day. Um, I have to blow off work tomorrow to go find a place to park the trailer. I have that spot. I haven't been able to go in since I cashed my check, which was on Friday. The offices were closed and it's the weekend. The people whose place they let me park my trailer, it was a week ago, and the story I didn't tell of why I had to go, and I was gonna film this, me putting a door on. I filmed it, but I haven't put the door on the trailer. I've been just insane this whole week. I like my job, but I get up at 4 in the morning, I go to work, and I don't get off till 4, and I don't get home till 5. If I have to stop for gas or groceries, it'd be like 5:36. And, those offices are closed. And, the job I have, it depends upon, what the fishermen are bringing back. And so, when the season's on, you work as much as you fucking can, because there are going to be slow times that pop up. So anyway, I was kind of told today that I had to go, and that, I was going to get to the other story, so I'm building the door. I haven't hung it, but when I was nearly done with the whole framing and covering it out, the landlord, maybe I explained this in the other video, but I'll just go ahead. Not the landlord, the property manager or whatever comes back from like Disneyland or something. And technically my trailer wasn't even parked on their property. It was at this like semi-abandoned house that the bank owns. They're not even trying to sell it or whatever the fuck the situation is. And my trailer's not the best looking. Oh God. But anyway, so where he parks is pretty close to where I was working on my trailer. And a couple of the other guys that live there were kind of working at one of the farther end of the little mini complex. And it's a motel that was built in like the 40s or 50s, and it's been, converted into apartments. So it gives you some idea, just a few separate buildings. These guys were at the far end, and so the guy gets out of his car, and instead of coming up to me, he walks right by me and goes over to the guys, and I hear him yelling, what the fuck? What the fuck? Whose goddamn fucking trailer, goddamn up, but it ain't going on, and they're like, it's Carrie's. And guess how he's always known me? Except for, legally on making the deposits and shit. It's my full name, birth name, but it never went to him. I deposit it directly in the bank account of the owner. And who the fuck is Gary? God, who the fuck? He's going on like that. And I hear the guys responded, couldn't tell exactly what they said. And he just continues flipping out. And then as he's walking back to his car and where his trailer's parked, he won't even look at me. So I stood up and I walked over to him and I said, I'll have this out by tomorrow. And he said, well, it goddamn fucking better be, because if it's fucking here tomorrow, I'm gonna call a goddamn wrecker. It's gonna be fucking gone. I swear to God, I'm gone for 2 fucking days, and everything goes to goddamn hell. Fuck! And so I just packed my door into the trailer, packed up everything. I just put everything away, hooked up my trailer. I got out of there. And, you know, I was desperate. I had nowhere to go. And I had like 6 hours until I had to be at work. And I had nowhere I could unhook my trailer. You know, and I was about to do it in a Walmart parking lot. Because it wouldn't be there when I got back. So anyway, long story short, I find these people. They let me park my trailer there. They're real nice. But I well overstayed my welcome. And it was put in nicely way, but it was that. And so initially when I went there, it was, you know, I had some certified mail come. I've been waiting for the check, another check I've been talking about, which is the deposit, you know, and they had, you know, they had like, at the time it was, you know, like tiny bit over a week. And they'd been telling me right from the beginning, it'll be a couple of days. Oh no, we're gonna, we'll bring it back when you come through town. And then a couple of days turned into a week. The week, a couple more days. Then it was another week, and so on and so forth. I ended up getting my check directly from the owner the day before the deadline. And he charged me a $35 stop check fee because he was, you know, it was the post office's fault, and it was my fault why the check didn't get there. He doesn't know why. All his legal responsibility was to put it in the mail. Write the check, put it in the mail. That's all he had to do. And so to get my deposit back, I had to pay him $35. I had no choice. I didn't have any gas. I had to cash in every bit of change I had to get enough gas just to get to work. And I was planning on sleeping in my car for 2 days because I couldn't afford to get it back. You know, it was enough out of the way that there wasn't even a parking lot I could have stayed in and they got back to work. I was so empty on gas. And some other things hit the fan. This morning I was fighting off a PTSD episode. And, you know, on top of getting 4 hours of sleep, and non-consecutive either. I know I've talked about this. But, you know, it's quite a while. I don't even want to think about counting up the days. So it finally got to me. And I'm just exhausted, and some other things happened, several things. I won't go into it because I just can't discuss the trigger now. And about 4 days ago, I just stopped smoking weed. I just wanted to quit because I do use it too much. But shit started to get bad. So I went and bought some weed and I took a hit. And I'm fine. I don't feel exhausted. And in fact, I feel completely clear-headed. I don't feel stoned at all. I mean, I don't feel stoned at all. What happened is I just seem to have gotten normal. God. Fucking bullshit. No, drive around again and look at me. I don't think you got a good enough look the first time. Jesus, that shit's getting to me. So, I was worried that I'd take a hit and I'd be like really fucking stoned. God. I took 2 hits and I felt completely normal. Call it a drug, it is. It's really cool, got a fun feeling. But I've talked about medical necessity before. And so far, when I feel the onset of a PTSD episode coming, weed has been the only fucking thing I have discovered that stops it. It fucking stops it in its tracks. And people think what you will. Because I have an alcohol problem. I do have a weed problem. I've said that before. But I gotta learn to control it. That's hard. It's really hard. Because quitting isn't the answer, because that's not healthy for me either. And people think what they will. And I know people will judge me bad for this. And not really whatever. Like, tell me to my face and just still the same thing. But the thing is, with me, I have to admit to myself when I think shit about people. Even when they're in front of me. And it was just me working through shit in my head. And I know that. But sometimes you feel guilty for that. Because I feel like I'm being watched and listened to a lot. Like most of the time. That real unreasonable thing. And it turns out that people that have suffered abusive pasts have this feeling. So it's normal. It's normal to have the feeling like you're always being watched and judged. And growing up religious doesn't help that. I don't know what my life will bring in the short term. But despite having friends and whatnot, I don't like to admit it, but I do feel truly alone in this world. I hate to admit that, because I know people close to me are gonna see this. And it's no offense intended towards anyone. I'm just being honest about this. I was telling somebody today that, God, this sounds so arrogant. I don't even want to say it, but I'm going to. I found very few, almost nobody in this life that can keep up with me in a conversation or with my thought process. And I've been thought of as stupid and crazy my whole life. By how many or what percentage, I don't care. But the people that did tell me were more than clear about that, their opinion. But constantly feeling misunderstood is a horrible, horrible feeling. And one of my triggers, fuck it, I'll just talk about it, is when I'm not being understood and it's important. And that's not really it either. I can talk about that because that's not really in the foreground right now. I just wanted to seem like I was talking about one of my triggers. I feel weak for not just blaring into it. Because I feel like I should. But I realized a little bit ago, that was my family. That was that upbringing I had. Being told what to think and how to live. That I couldn't give myself any credit for what I need. Such as the the need not to talk about the specifics right now. And maybe I have done too many specifics, and when I post this, I'll probably think, oh, god damn it, what did you do? Fuck, why did you do that? So I don't know. I really take my spirituality to heart. And I've been expressing that more because it's something I've hidden a lot. Because I've been desperate for people to like me. And this is just one of those things I should just come right out and say, hey, this is what's kind of going on in this area. It's really hard to express because this is one of the areas I'm very misunderstood. And in order to get understood, I have to do so much explaining just to get to my point that it's just not worth even trying sometimes. Next day, my phone ran out of space. What I was saying about it not being worth explaining my point, or explaining myself to get to the point, is not often worth it. And it's really hard for me to put it in a way that I feel would be understood, and so tailoring everything for the audience, as it were, and that's something everybody does. Well, I don't know. God, look at society. There seems to be no people with no filter or concept of their audience or the point that they're trying to make. And me making a point is hard because I have I've been misunderstood my whole life by seemingly everybody. Not in everything in every way. I need to make that clear. Because there are people I dearly, dearly love that, there's some friends that I have that, we're going through the same thing, pretty much at the same time. I love them dearly, and I need that, like, God, to have somebody understand. And this is why I need to make this point. It is so important to find people that understand, and I'm searching so hard. And I'm getting people that do understand. And what I'm trying to say is I want to be understood in everything. Because just in this past week, I'm building this door to stop the rain and to make it more secure when I lock it. The previous door was mangled. The window was gone. It was broken. I had a little sheet over it. The handle was gone. It was just like I had to reach through the window and unlock it because I had a padlock on the inside. That's how secure that was. And so the door was to the point to where I hadn't hung it on, and I get to where I am, and the person says, oh, well, why don't you put a little molding, put some, flashing down, and, paint it, get it done right. And I was like, well, it just needs to be done. And they could look and see the state of this door. Well, if you're going to do it, what. And so I had the time then, and I didn't initially do it. Because, it's somebody else's opinion that's older and knows more, and it's just this old association that I have with my family and, father figures especially, and so I didn't do it right then, and then my work week started, and I didn't get home until late in the day. There was, another time I could have done it, but I didn't, because I chose to be with a friend instead. And my downtime is very important. It's it took me a long time to realize that the relaxing I needed after working was not me being lazy. My motivation would go completely when people would start hounding on me for it, which was leaving me no peace, and then they would blame me because I would still be doing nothing, seemingly by their opinion, when I was desperately trying to cope with still continuing the seconds, the second, the second, the second. Those were torture. How could I have gotten up and done something? You know how long I went thinking that was my fucking fault? Those people. I was fucking paralyzed because I couldn't be a girl. I couldn't be ambidextrous. I couldn't like pink. I couldn't like purple. I couldn't play with girls. I couldn't dress as I wanted. My oldest sister would manipulate my mother. Oh, you can't let him do that. Are you gonna let him wear that? And behind it all, my sister, my oldest sister, was there. Well, Mom, his handwriting is so bad enough, and he's about to start school. So we can't let him just go to school with that kind of handwriting, can we? He needs to choose one. And my mom would give in. And then it was the same thing, you know. I remember in preschool, if I've talked about this before, it needs to be heard again. When I was in preschool, I was only playing with the girls. And I remember clearly when my mother talked to my preschool teacher about making me play with the boys. And I remember the day at preschool. She wouldn't let me go play with the girls, and I had to stay inside with the boys. And I was crying and screaming and throwing a tantrum. I remember this clearly. It's not dream state, this is fucking as clear as it gets. And I say that because I know my family will hopefully goddamn look at this and fucking realize that they have not given me credit. And just because they whitewashed the real horrible shit, and that's the shit I'm talking about right now, and this goes deeper, you goddamn know it does. And you pray to God I don't get into those fucking details. There's a couple I will. But what I remember is not to be invalidated by who it's coming from. These people have not made an effort to truly get to know me. Notice their lack of time period with that statement. And I have tried desperately on and off in my life to get their acceptance and also to let them go. This is still difficult, and this is one reason I'm making these videos. I have to be able to get to this point, and I have to realize and express how hard and meaningful this is. Because truly, the simple things are the hardest to understand. I was taught in the whole Mormon religion in primary school, the little classes for very young children, that life is black and it's white. It's either good or it's bad. And so, you'll know this. And that puts a real simple view on everything. But my point with the simple things are hardest to understand is life is not black and white, it's gray. In fact, there's all sorts of colors, but for this point, I'll have to keep it simple. Life is gray. Gray is made up of black and white. And as any artist will know, there is infinite shades of gray, which are infinite, numbers of black and white, and the concentration leaning towards one or the other changes. And the whole picture isn't one solid gray either. It's all. And so, in order to understand the simplicity of these things, which is extremely complicated too, I love a good contradiction. You have to see its complexity, and it is extremely complex. But the more you get into it, you start to see a little bit more of the black and white, and you discover that, wow, it's not what you thought. And the farther you go in, the more defined it gets. But the thing is, the more you go, the more you find that you can't zoom all the way in. And in fact, when you zoom in on something, you can't see the whole. And there's not even any computer, there's no anything that can really zoom into these things. It's too complicated. Like, for instance, the big fault with science is its reductionary reasoning. You can't reduce variables and state that you know the outcome for the whole. Michael Pollan has a great book, and I don't know the exact number, but let's hope I get close. In A Sprig of Time, there is roughly 427 antioxidants alone. And science will rate one against the other and test how they interact one with another and so far whatever. But they can't test how each and every single one of these interact together, let alone interact with the variances of the human body. And plus, then you can get into all the testing that's done on animals and through the microscope, but then you still got to give it that base of what is it interacting with, such as a human and its digestive and the whole working of the body. There is no brain, there is no computer that can do these things. So the arrogance of science and something so factual, something seemingly so simple, as in it's immutable, is so complicated. We haven't even begun to drill the depths of what's really here. And the problem with science throughout all of history is exactly what we hear today. We know these things, we study these things, and there's very little new areas to go to. There's no new areas to create. Most of these areas we know where it's going, we know how we're going to progress, and we know where we're going to be tomorrow. But the day after that, we think it's going here. And anybody outside of that purview is looked at as stupid, wrong, and throughout history, if you look at it and study it, you will find that the big leaps are made by the people that were ostracized and crazy. You know, how many of us out here get these points and have gotten them since we were little? But we have been told we are fucking stupid and crazy because we didn't play their fucking game. We saw beyond it right from the beginning. And it's not really something you can teach because it's in your heart. If you don't care about deeper shit, and you never did, wow, that sucks. I used to get pissed that I couldn't be like other people, but I realize now it's in my heart not to be like that. And I was focusing too much on what people accepted. Look at me now. What's in the background doesn't matter. My background changes. You will not always see that ugly shit behind me, but you will see me get better. Every way. It's been a long video. I'm glad I spoke my heart. I needed to do this. So if anybody lasts through these whole things, thank you for listening.